How's it going, everybody? It is Pilot Flame. We are back with another deadline stream. The deadline is tomorrow, but we're doing it tonight because I won't be home in time for the deadline tomorrow, but I will be back for the 1 hour before for Game Week 23. But it is quick turnaround. There's got a lot of fixtures to be had here, and we're going to be taking a closer look at some of those fixtures and where we could potentially be looking to get some value and get some players in that potentially have a good run of fixture. So we'll be kind of taking a look at the season ticker up until game week 25 and including game week 25. We'll also be taking a look at potential captaincy option this week. In my opinion, there's only really 4 in a sense that is you're definitely gonna back. We'll take a look at the goals imminent table as per usual, and we'll take a look at my potential transfer plans. May not make any this week, but may have a bit of a lineup problem in that sense, but we'll take a look at it. So without further ado, let's get into it. Oh, Zachary, you can't join us. Oh well. Let's see what you say. Okay, I'm going to sleep, so I'm just saying I got in Barnes and Justin for Saka and Chilwell. Have a great stream. No worries. This VOD will be up on YouTube, so you can take a look at it afterwards, as per normal. We always put the VOD up, but yeah, thank you for at least stopping by at the very beginning. I know in Norwegian time, as you called it, it would be 1 in the morning, so yeah, glad that you can at least stop in, which is always nice. We always encourage people to join in the streams when they can. I know it is not necessarily the best time for people in Europe, but it is, if I made it any later, which would be the only times that I would do that, then it would be a bit of an issue for most people, which is why I like when the deadlines are on the weekend. So if we actually take a look at the fixtures, so like 23 starts on the Saturday, which is nice. 24 starts on the Saturday, which is nice. See, 25, this one game on a Friday is just annoying, because unless I had that day off, as an example, I can't do the stream. I have to do it the night before. Which is kind of annoying, and I can't really do a deadline stream after the deadline started. Just wouldn't make sense. 26 is good. We like that. And then 27, they haven't done it. So what's that? So 3 out of our next 4 we're all going to be doing at a normal time, which is nice. But yeah, let's take a look at some of these fixtures here in 22. So at the start of the show, I basically said that we got to take a look at some of the fixtures and where we can get some value. So, you know, there's been some rotation from Man City. There's been players that were injured and all that sort of stuff. So where can we potentially find players that we know are going to start, that we could potentially get something, basically, going this week? And the way we're going to have to do that is find basically differential picks or picks that makes the most sense. So one thing would be basically target games where, you know, not many people are going to have players in it, and you may see an opportunity there. So hypothetically, Newcastle versus Crystal Palace, even though I predicted it to be a 1-0 Crystal Palace, may seem like a fixture to get in Callum Wilson. He just came off scoring a brace, and Crystal Palace in recent games haven't been as good in terms of their defensive stats. Although they did keep a clean sheet last game. The games before that, you know, they conceded 7 to Liverpool in recent weeks, and that was before they went, like, you know, kind of downhill a little bit. Yeah, so you could basically pick these sorts of games. So which ones would I say you would potentially have this week? So Sheffield United, West Brom, Wolves, Arsenal, Newcastle, Crystal Palace, and that's probably it, to be honest, because the rest of them have, like, you know, marquee players in them. So, like, Man United versus Southampton, people are going to have Bruno, they're going to have Rashford. Burnley versus City, a lot of people are going to have City. Fulham, Leicester, a lot of people are going to have Leicester players. Leeds, Everton, a lot of people are going to have Leeds and Everton players, probably. Aston Villa versus West Ham, you probably already have Aston Villa and West Ham players from maybe West Ham's from the doubles, as well as Aston Villa players to bring in just because they have a better run of fixtures. Liverpool versus Brighton, because you'll probably have Salah. And then Spurs versus Chelsea, because you'll probably have Son, and some people may still have lingering Chelsea assets in their team. So the ones that we have to look at is Sheffield United versus West Brom, and Wolves versus Arsenal, and Newcastle versus Palace. Those are like the 3. that you kind of want to look at. So Sheffield United versus West Brom. Well, what can we get out of that? Well, if you're like myself and you still have this guy, and you're thinking about what type of goalkeeper to potentially play this week, so if you have Sam Johnston plus another goalkeeper, I think Sam Johnston is as good as nailed for a clean sheet potentially this week. If you have Martinez, he has West Ham, so they'll probably concede there. And if you're like me, who has Antonio, Souček, these sorts of players, you kind of want to root against him keeping a clean sheet in a sense. You would rather have Antonio get a goal than Martinez keep a clean sheet. Also, if you're looking at some of the cheaper goalkeepers that other people or other goalkeepers that people might have, McCarthy has Manchester United. Probably don't want to go there. If you have obviously if you have Ederson, then yeah, sure, but not many people have him. Areola versus Leicester, he'll probably concede there. Meslier versus Everton, probably not great, even though they had a poor showing versus Newcastle. Fabianski versus Villa, probably not great either. Sanchez versus Liverpool, not great either. And then Spurs play Chelsea, together. So again, not great options overall. So he's probably the best or most likely to get a clean sheet of some kind there. And the last time they ended up playing Sheffield United, they won 1-0. He got 11 points. And he kept the clean sheet because he made 6 saves and got 3 bonus. So he did quite well for himself. So that's one avenue you can get it. Another way would be potential cheap players that may have a good run of fixtures. So do West Brom have a good run of fixtures? Over the next grand scheme of things, yeah, they have some decent run. Sheffield United, they could potentially get points. Spurs haven't been great. United, it's probably going to be tougher, but Burnley, they could potentially get some points. Brighton, Newcastle, Crystal Palace, they could potentially pick up points in these games. And Big Sam will be looking to do that. They just got to obviously, fix their defense. But we're looking at kind of their attack. And somebody who's actually been on form, who I mentioned in a differential pick not too long ago, is actually Matthias Pereira, who's been on fire the last few game weeks. He's gotten 15 points, 9 points, 2 points, 13 points. He's been doing quite well and is pretty essential to their attack. So I would say he is somebody that I would potentially look to be doing well for them. They also brought in a new striker, Diagna, I think I don't know how you pronounce his name exactly, but he could potentially be somebody who ends up doing well for them. But we will see on that front. Because their other strikers just haven't been doing what they're supposed to be doing. Or as well. Also, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, somebody who's come from Arsenal. He's currently registered as a 4.6 million defender. Now, West Brom play 3-4-3. So he could be somebody that comes in at one of the wing-back roles and do quite well for them. He's probably going to start week in, week out. At least I would think he would. And will probably play quite well. So that's for that fixture. Wolves versus Arsenal. I think the obvious picks for Arsenal is obviously Leno, someone who's been doing quite well. Arsenal have kept, 6 clean sheets in their last 7, which is insane. Or at least, Leno's got a lot of save points in those games. Holding, who's still 4.5 million, quite cheap. Again, their fixtures, in the next 3 are, longer term aren't great. But if you're looking for like a 1-week punter and then maybe somebody to use it just bench fodder that is going to start, Rob Holding could be your guy. He's somebody who came off my bench this week in the Man United game, and he got me 8 points, which is good. So not too bad overall there. Cedric's been playing recently as well due to the absence of Tierney. We don't know how long he's going to be out. And he's been doing okay for himself as well. He's got 12 points, 2 points, 5 points in the last 3, so not too bad there. Aubameyang, probably a bit too expensive to be going on like a punt. Again, Smith Rowe, somebody who's been playing a lot, but could see bar time with Odegaard now in there. He's 4-4. And then probably the rest of it you probably want to stay away from, I would say, in terms of picks there. Wolves, on the other hand, you're probably not looking too much at. They've just been in such poor form. They're, you know, the back line, you're basically only looking at Bali and Cody, really. And then attacking wise, they're just not been great. Like William Jose, 7 million looks a bit too expensive for me. You know, Traore at 6 million hasn't got any returns. Podence was okay, but still not what you're looking for. You know, if you know Kilman is regularly starting, then at 4 million he could potentially be okay, but again, had a bit of a mix. You know, starts one game, doesn't play at all. Starts one game, plays only 26 minutes, plays nothing, starts. Like it's a bit up and down for you know, for Wolves. So I'd probably steer clear of them for the time being. And their fixtures aren't great. A bit of a mixed bag before they have a nicer run from basically 31 onwards. And then the last fixture, Newcastle versus Crystal Palace. Now, Crystal Palace actually have a fantastic run, so we'll start with them. So Guaita, 4.8, very cheap goalkeeper. This run is fantastic. Spurs don't score very many goals. West Brom, you know, Fulham, Brighton, Burnley, Leeds, Newcastle, all potentially really good fixtures, or at least some games where he's going to get some save points. Mitchell at 3.9. Didn't play in the last game, but it could just be a rested thing because he did play 5 in a row before that. So we'll have to see on that front, see if he plays this game coming. But Zaha and Eze could be the guys that you go to in terms of attacking returns. Crystal Palace don't necessarily score more than 1 or 2 on even their best of days, but overall I would think that Zaha's probably the guy and Eze's probably next in line there. So some decent options there. Again, Mitchell and Van Arnhold, if they're going to keep rotating, then it's kind of a no-go there for consistency, but I say Guaita could be a very good goalkeeper, very underrated goalkeeper. And then going into the doubles, they are likely to play Fulham and Man United, so potentially a you know, one of the goalkeepers for a bench boost, possibly, because Crystal Palace beat United in the opening day of the season, and they'll probably try to frustrate United as well, so we'll see on that front. And then Newcastle, you're only really looking at the likes of Callum Wilson, pretty much. Maybe St. Maximin when he comes back in, but he's just a bit of an injury risk. And then Darlow, who's done well, could be someone who's potentially good in, you know, for a goalkeeper. Jamal Lewis is somebody who's probably going to have his spot nailed down now because DeAndre Yedlin, I'm not sure if he went on a loan or if he was sold, but he's not going to be in the team. But by the looks of it, looks like he was sold because I don't see him anywhere at all in the defenders list anymore. So he's not going to be there. So Lewis is probably looking, you know, nailed down if you're looking for just a cheap defender. But overall, Wilson, somebody who's, you know, people are probably buying him up, and he's 22.4% owned, so he's somewhat highly owned now, but still somewhat of a differential. The fixtures, on the other hand, aren't great for him. You know, after Crystal Palace, they have Southampton, Chelsea, Man United, and Wolves, 4 teams that probably won't beat. But then a little bit nicer of a fixture after that, so that's kind of what you're looking for. Yeah, those are some of the things that we kind of have to think about when looking at transfers. It's not always something to where it's like, I need to go with the herd. I need to go, oh, everyone's bringing in Dominic Calvert-Lewin like last week. Everyone's bringing in Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Digne, James Rodriguez. I need to go with them. Or everyone's getting rid of Bamford, you know, that sort of stuff. I didn't necessarily want to get rid of Bamford. I knew he was in a bad vein of form, which is why I benched him. But also, I also had the decision to get rid of Chris Wood, who I wasn't going to play anyway. So those sorts of things are, you know, decisions that you have to make overall. That being said, you still want to have players in your team that aren't, you know, that are still well owned, because if you don't have the likes of Salah, who we know can do well, if you don't have Bruno, who can do well, you know, these sorts of players, then you can obviously get burnt. Your rank gets hurt for it. Like, there was times where, if any of you use livefpl.net, which is basically like a mid-game week where you can check like your rank and stuff, every time I didn't have Son and Kane, if it says like player's effective points against you, and basically every time Kane and Son like linked up, like my rank plummeted every time, and they were burning my rank every time, because if you didn't have both of them and they one assisted the other, then it was a bit of a nightmare. So there are players that you probably should still have in your team, regardless, unless you have a big hunch that they're either going to go on a dry spout, or they have really bad fixtures coming up and it warrants getting rid of them. So, like as an example, if we go to Mo Salah, after Brighton, there is arguments to get rid of him. You can say Man City at home, can't guarantee anything there. Leicester have been playing well, although they had a blip last week. Potentially get rid of him for that. Everton at home, potentially don't need him for that either. But then Sheffield United and Chelsea at home, because this fixture will move into the double, and then have Fulham afterwards and Wolves. Those could be okay, which is what you would want him for. So if you want to keep him, you can keep him. If not, just know that these 3 fixtures might not necessarily be good for him to play in. Whereas the likes of Bruno Fernandes, as an example, he has Southampton at home, Everton at home, both teams who haven't been as good defensively. West Brom away, Newcastle at home. So looking at pretty good fixtures there. Also, his double will be against Chelsea and Crystal Palace, most likely. So something to kind of take into consideration there. Also, he's very highly owned and probably going to be very highly captained this week. So even if he only ends up, let's say the game ends up in a 0-0 and he ends up with 3 points, his effective points against most people is going to be like 4+, which is still a decent amount. Callum Wilson's, I think he scored a brace and his effective points against me was like 4, but he scored a brace, but not many people had him at the time. So effective ownership can hurt people, but you still need those few players to help boost yourself up the ranks, or captain the right person. So like as an example, if you captain Salah this week, he scores a hat trick, and other people captain Fernandes and he loses 1-0 to Southampton, then you're in the money, even if you still have both of them. But you'll definitely be looking at a green arrow because you captain the right one. However, you're looking at a really bad rank if you have them both but didn't captain one of them, if they get really, really high scores. Obviously, you want both of them to do well. Like an ideal world, they both score hat tricks, get 3 bonus points, and a clean sheet point, and you captained one of them. So that's kind of what you want. But in terms of who potentially could do well this week, I'm thinking it's only going to really be, Bruno or Salah, if we look at the captaincy table. So I'm going to bring that up here. If you aren't familiar with this is the Fantasy Football Scout members area. And basically they use Optastats to where you can generate these tables and you can see, expected goal involvement, how many shots the players had, heat maps, all that sort of stuff. So I've put Salah, Bruno, Son, and Rashford over the last 6 matches in organized by expected goal involvement, which is just off screen here. But Bruno is 3.63. So he's expected, what that means is basically he's expected to be in 3.63 goals and or assists combined over the last 6 matches, which isn't a crazy amount, but it is top out of these 3 players, or the other 3 players. Salah 3.56, Son 2.81, Rashford 0.74. So Rashford isn't that, potentially that good in this situation. Mane may be injured, so I didn't put him in the table. Kane is injured. Vardy's still out. I should have put Sterling in this as well. So I'd be interested to see what he would be looking like. So I'm gonna put Sterling, and I'm also gonna put Gundogan in the table as well. And Sterling is actually top over the last 6 matches. So 4.03, Gundogan is 3.04. So basically you have Sterling out front then Bruno, then Salah, then Gundogan, then Son, and then way down is Rashford. Son is always somebody that's exceeded his XG, and what we mean by that is basically he's very clinical. So like he may have a 0.5, so basically a 50% chance to score, and he scores a lot more than what he should based on a 50% chance. But Son gets a lot of big chances as well. So like if you look at total big chances, if we organize it by that, Son's had 6, so he's basically getting 1 a match effectively, and he's been basically putting them away. Whereas you look at Bruno and Rashford, even though Bruno has been involved in 3 points, or should be involved in 3.63, 3.63 expected goal involvement, you know, he's only had 2 big chances, which isn't very much, but he's created 13 chances, so he's a lot more on the assist side of things. Salah, 4 big chances, 7 chances created. Gundogan, 4 big chances, 10 chances created. But yeah, I think Sterling could be a really good shout for captaincy this week, because City are versus Burnley, and typically they win quite heavily versus Burnley. Not sure what it is with just playing versus Burnley, but they do quite well usually versus Burnley, which is kind of weird, considering they're a team based on defense, and City just know how to beat them. It's just a thing that they do, and Sterling can do quite well, and typically does better away from home as well, historically, at least. So yeah, if I'm looking at this captaincy data, over the last 6 matches, Sterling's been the most involved, in terms of what he should be doing. Bruno is probably the one that's not doing as well as he should, because he's so like Gundogan 2.69, so that means he scored 2.69 more goals than what his XG would suggest as well. Hey Nuka, how's it going? Grealish is a good option. Let's actually add Grealish in there. Let's do that. Jack Grealish, if I can spell Grealish. Let's add him in there. Grealish is second last in terms of expected goal involvement, 2.18. But he has the top for chances created. He's also created 3 big chances, which is tied most. So he's been very heavily involved in terms of his chance creation. He just needs somebody to put their nose on the end of it. Hey, you're the reason I never sleep early. Actually, the funny thing is, Zaka stopped in early, and he said, I'm going to sleep, but I just want to say that I brought in Barnes and Justin for Saka and Chilwell. Have a good stream. So, yeah, he knew that he had to get to sleep early, so he's going to watch the VOD later. That's what he said. Hey, Jankster, how's it going? Yeah, I think he made good transfers. Whether Fulham score versus Leicester, they probably shouldn't, because Leicester should be bouncing back, but yeah. Funny thing is, Matthew, I have a thing with that. If you don't know who to get, and there's a lot of different ways you can do it, save a transfer. If there's too much confusion, you think, oh, I could do 2 free transfers here, 1 free transfer here, a -4 here, a -8, a -12. I can do all these crazy things. Just kind of let your team, just go with the flow type of thing. That's what one of the people in my mini leagues did, and they did just as good as me. He said, I wanted to do this, 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 and this, and this. Didn't know which one to do, wasn't sure about any of them in terms of they could have all been good, so he said, let me just keep it as is. And sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it's better to do nothing. Better to keep it simple. But it depends on what fires you need to basically put out in your team. If you have players in your team that are injured or might not play or that sort of stuff, then you can address it. So if you think that Mane's not going to play, or Vardy's not going to be back, or these sorts of things, then obviously you can take those players out. If you hung on to Kane hoping that he might play and he's not going to play this game week either, then you could probably get rid of him. Those sorts of things you can make transfers. like I know one guy from Fantasy Football Scout. He usually does the if any of you watch that channel, it's Neil who usually does the team news videos with Andy. He's taken one hit the entire season. One. I think I've taken about like 15. So and he's done quite well for himself. He's like top 5k, I want to say, top 3k, something like that. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, he's done quite well. Moving on to the season ticker. Now, this is something that is usually quite interesting to see. So these are the next 4 game weeks. So this is 22, 23, 24, 25. This is all before the double game week. Matthew J says, I am the opposite. I have no clue who to get, and I have no plan as I have 8.4 million in the bank, and I have 1 injured defender and a 4.5 million mid. So I could get Basuma to Sterling. That sounds fine to me. That transfer is, I would like to call, a very simple transfer. You know, Sterling has, you know, been rested. He's likely to play against Burnley. He's going to be up against a team where City like to score lots of goals first. And he's probably going to be needed to kind of keep the width because Pep plays those sorts of players. I think that transfer makes sense to me. I would think that would be a good transfer, and I think potentially he's a captaincy option. And based on the table that we had, he's actually, in terms of expected goal involvement, top over the last 6 matches. You can't see it because it's cut off based on the graphic that we have, but he's 4.03, so he should have been involved in 4.03 goals and or assists in the last 6 matches. Newcastle says I take plenty of hits. Yeah, you could take plenty of hits and still be in the top 5k. I'm just saying that there's many different avenues to go about it. Some people don't take any hits at all, and they're way up in the boonies. Some people are, you know, take a lot of hits, and they're way ahead of everyone else. It depends on when and how you use them, because you can always net points from hits, if done correctly. But yeah, for the season ticker, we have it organized by attack. So you can see that Manchester United are still top of that. Southampton at home, Everton at home, West Brom away, Newcastle at home. So a player that people might not necessarily be, you know, looking at because of his, you know, bad stats, would be Rashford. He's only 10% owned, which is still considered somewhat of a differential, and could be good over the next 4. And United would also have a double game week as well, so he'd be a double game week player. But he's not necessarily in the best of form, so again, it's a fixtures over form type of thing. Attack-wise, City is actually at the very bottom, have to verse Burnley, Liverpool, Spurs, and Arsenal. And in defense, City's also bottom as well. So unfortunately for me, I have 3 City defenders, but I have them versus Burnley. So if I were to take away these fixtures and only made it just the one, City would actually be 4th. They have the 4th best fixture for just this game week. So yeah, that's what you kind of have to look at. So if you're looking for good defense over the next 4, Crystal Palace is up there, Man United's up there, Burnley's up there after Man City, obviously. So if you have the likes of Nick Pope, but you also have, like, let's say you had Nick Pope and another goalkeeper from the double game week, and you bench boosted or something, you could potentially use that one goalkeeper just for this one game week, in order to basically kind of bypass the, hey look, Pope's probably going to concede 5 to City or something. What will you do with the 3 City defenders when the fixtures change? Funny you should ask that. I can show you exactly what I can do. So I have 2 free transfers going into next week. So my original plan, this was my original plan, was to get rid of a forward, whoever that forward may be. Get rid of Salah because Salah's fixtures after 22 aren't great. So he has Man City at home, he has Leicester away, he has Everton at home. So arguably may not necessarily get much in those fixtures. But we'll want him back for the double, but we can arrange for that or wildcard and get him back. So we would get rid of him. With this, what I was going to do. Get rid of a forward, doesn't matter who it is. And we would have brought in Kane. Problem is, and then have 9 million or however much, depending which forward I got rid of, for a midfielder, right? Kane's injured now. So I can look to make my defense better, potentially for the double, because City's double is most likely going to be West Ham at home, and then probably Southampton at home. Probably. That's what they're thinking. Because it's more likely for Wolves to be the fixture in 24. Because City apparently leaked something on their... It was in Arabic. Which was, showing towards their global community. Obviously having those connections. Because of the owners and their sponsors and stuff, they had a thing where it says, we don't know who we're playing here yet, basically, but we could very well have a fixture here, but it's not been determined yet. And the most likely team that's going to be is Everton, apparently. Ben Krellin, if you haven't followed him over on Twitter, make sure to do so. I'll get his Twitter and post it in the chat. But he says... the tweet here, I'll put it in the chat for you all and then just read it out. Most likely in Game Week 24 this could be. So he says Man City versus Wolves is more likely to move to Game Week 26 than Man City versus Southampton, because Man City versus Wolves will probably be the only fixture that can move to a Tuesday night in Game Week 26. Moving Man City versus Southampton to Game Week 26 would prevent either Southampton's other blanks from moving to 26. So he's saying that it's more likely Leeds Southampton doesn't also necessarily need to be moved as well. So it's Wolves is more likely to be moved to 26, which means City versus Southampton could be the 24, but Everton City is probably more likely to be that. But we still don't know officially for that. But, it seems like City are set for Game Week 24 to have a double, and it's going to be versus probably Southampton or Everton, one of the two. It's one of the games they need to be made up. So, it'll be Everton away or Southampton at home. That'll be the fixture that they have to, one of those they'll make up. So, if I go into next week with 2 free transfers, De Bruyne's not back yet, so can't really go there. But if I think that, Son is, he is versus West Brom, so we'll probably keep him for that. Harvey Barnes, his next fixture after Fulham away is Wolves away, Liverpool at home. So we brought him in for the couple of fixtures. If he does well for us, we could potentially get rid of him. So we can go Harvey Barnes out. John Stones out, who could be more of a rotation risk now, because Diaz is probably more nailed, and Cancelo is probably their best fullback who can play both sides, so he'll probably see more game time than the other fullbacks, whereas Diaz just seems to just play every game. We can just bring in Gundogan for the time being, just as a Man City, attacker, and then just get a defender that we want to play, maybe Rudiger as an example. Zodiac brings up a good point there. If we look at the season ticker for defense, maybe a Man United defender. Maybe Wan-Bissaka fits that bill. Maybe Harry Maguire. Somebody like that could work. And then we have a little bit of change in the bank. And then if we wanted to, going into, we still have the wild card, but if we save 2 free transfers going into Game Week 26, and we, find out that, Son, and Son's maybe, Kane's still out, and we think maybe Son's not really the guy that we want, we can always take Son out for De Bruyne, and then take out either Cancelo or Diaz for somebody else. We can always make that choice. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And if I had to pick a defender to get rid of, it would probably be John Stones, just because Laporte and Stones are like the second center back to play. It's Diaz and then it's +1. When it comes to fullbacks, it's Cancelo typically +1. Cancelo has been playing a lot of games. He played like 9 consecutively in all competitions, then came off the bench, then played 2, and then got benched versus Sheffield United, because they think that you know, if you had to play Cancelo in midweek, weekend, midweek, or like 3 games in, you know, 8-9 days, whatever it is, which 3 would you want to play him in? Do you need him really versus Sheffield United? Probably not. Do you need him versus Burnley, where they're going to play a super, super low block and be very good at defending crosses? Yeah, you probably need him because his quality on his crosses are very good, and he mixes it up. Will you need him versus Liverpool? Yeah, you're probably going to want him versus Liverpool. And then will you need him versus Spurs? Probably you want him versus Spurs because it's a big game. And then it's a gap in between the two, where they'll probably they could play their blank or whatever, like whatever one of their fixtures is in midweek, and maybe rest him and then play him again versus Arsenal. We'll see. So Jankson says Bamford, DCL, and Davis. So I assume you mean Keane and Davis. So Bamford and DCL go up front for me out of those players. Son, Gundogan, Salah, Bruno, and Riedewald. So Son, Gundogan, Salah, and Bruno. So you have 2 up front, 4 in midfield. Then you have Diaz, Stones, Dyer, Benderek, and Kufal. So if I had to pick between those, so Diaz and Stones for sure. Diaz and Stones would definitely be playing. And then you're basically looking for 2 more positions to fill. So you have Dyer. You have 5 million in the bank. Okay, so you can do a bunch of different things here. So Dyer versus Chelsea probably isn't the best thing. Benderek versus United, probably not the best thing. Although you could potentially score a set-piece goal, but probably not your ideal. Kufal plays Aston Villa. Again, not great. If it were me, I would potentially look to probably maybe use some of that money to you could upgrade Keenan Davis to Antonio, and then just play one of Benderek or Kufal or somebody like that. Dyer looks like he may have been dropped for a game or maybe injured or something, so maybe he's on the chopping block. I would say you probably only really need to make 1 transfer. I would say probably Dyer out for somebody. Who that somebody is, I don't know. James Justin looks to be okay. You know, maybe one of the Liverpool defenders. You know, you have Diaz and Stones in there, so you're probably fine on that front. Maybe, like I said, maybe a Man United defender just for the longer term. Those sorts of things is what you kind of be looking at, in my opinion, because you basically can do pretty much anything. Riedewald is also a cheap midfielder, so you could potentially upgrade to the likes of Jack Grealish, who's probably going to have doubles. He's probably somebody that you can go for, because I think Riedewald, if he's like 4 million, you know, then you could potentially go for him. Like Aaron Wan-Bissaka or Harry Maguire, they're going to start every game pretty much. Either one of those two, I think, is probably what you're looking for overall. Let me just move that back. Yeah, so I would say probably look for a United defender, like upgrade, or change Dyer out for one of those. Or you could potentially upgrade Riedewald, play that midfielder that you get, like Grealish or Zaha, who has very good fixtures, and then just play one of Kufal or Benderek this week. And then play your 2 City defenders and go 3-5-2. That's how I would go. Or you go 4-4-2 if you bring in that United defender. Leeds are good defender value at the moment. Yep, that's pretty true. Specifically, Dallas is well, he's not really a defender, really. He's kind of playing like a midfielder. It'll be interesting to see what his position will be, because he has played more games in midfield than he has in defense. So he may get changed to a midfielder, which will be unfortunate. But it all depends on, so position changes determine how many times that person played in that role, for how long, and the last half of the season is more focused on. Goalkeeper suggestions for the longer term, I would say Martinez, because he's going to have doubles coming up. for the next like 4 to 6 game weeks probably. So for the whole season, I would say Martinez. For the next 4 to 6 game weeks, probably Guaita's probably not bad. For teams that have potentially good doubles, again, Martinez, De Gea will probably have a good double. Alisson will have a good double, but again, you're wasting a Liverpool spot on that. Johnston for this week looks good because he's versus Sheffield United. That's what I'd be looking at, but I think Martinez is just so good. The only reason I'm not playing him this week is because he's versus West Ham, and I have West Ham players. So at least I can be like, go West Ham, and then, you know, not have to worry about Martinez conceding if he does, and just hope that Johnston keeps a clean sheet. Martinez, Diaz, Cancelo, Justin, Salah, Captain, Barnes, Grealish, Fernandez, Bamford, Antonio, Watkins, bench, Forster, Sucha, Kufal, and James. Yeah, I mean, that team's pretty good. If I could, I would change keeper. I would take Mendy. Mendy, so with Chelsea, Mendy doesn't make very many saves, whereas Martinez does. And Martinez is keeping more clean sheets than Mendy will. It's just a matter of now you kind of have a choice, sort of. Because they're the same price. But if you had Martinez earlier on in the season, he was 4-5, I want to say. Yeah, Johnston has tricky fixtures after Sheffield United. That's true. Yeah, just for a one-off week, I would say Johnston. But yeah, Martinez is probably good. Mendy's good. Even De Gea, if you wanted to go that route, is probably good longer term. Guaita, again, good cheaper goalkeeper. Yeah, Mono, you can post your team in the chat. We'll take a look. I mean, I got Martinez because I love him, also because of the double game weeks, but if I had to choose another one, then it would be Mendy. Yeah, I mean, yeah. And even Nick Pope, you know, after the Man City game, is going to be good as well. So, let's see. Johnston, Cancelo, Stones, Justin. I like that back line. And keeper for this week. Salah, Captain, Bruno, Gundogan, Souček, Antonio, Bamford, DCL bench options. Dallas, Rafinha, and Kufal options. And bench switches. I don't know who your other goalkeeper is, but Johnston looks to be quite good. I would even play him over Martinez. Salah captain, that's fine to me. Me personally, I would play if Rafinha is fit. I would probably play Rafinha or even Dallas over Souček this week because Everton's defense is terrible. Probably Rafinha because Rafinha's been playing really well. So I would say that's probably your only headache there. I don't know who Mono. I don't know who your second goalkeeper is, but even I think Johnston is probably the best goalkeeper this week, outside of maybe Guaita, but Guaita's probably versus a slightly better team. So, do you play Johnston this week? I think you play Johnston over Martinez this week personally, because I think that most people are gonna be looking to, people are gonna be looking to have Antonio. They're looking to have Souček. So if you have at least those two guys starting, maybe you're playing Kufal as well. You're not going to want those three players going up against Martinez. You'll want to root for just West Ham and be like, go West Ham, go. If you're just like a neutral, right? And whereas Johnston, you can be like, well, who has Sheffield United players? I don't care about Sheffield United. I want Johnston to keep a clean sheet. And he kept a clean sheet last time as well. My team really needs help. No, I think your team's okay. You just need a one transfer in defense, and you should be okay for this week. You should be okay. Don't see a reason to take a hit there. But I would definitely say probably Dyer or Redevarl needs to get changed out. Matthew J says Martinez, Diaz, Cancelo, Justin, Kufal, Salah, Bruno, Gundogan, Souček, DCL, and Antonio with Areola, Bamford, Basuma, and Walker Peters. I would play Bamford over Souček, personally. Actually, well, I'd play Bamford over Kufal. I think your team should be Martinez in goal because I think he's probably slightly better. than Areola. I would play Diaz, Cancelo, and Justin. I would then in midfield play Salah, Bruno, captain one of those two, Gundogan, Souček, and then Bamford, DCL, and Antonio, and then bench Areola, Basuma, Walker, Peters, and Kufal. That would be my choice there for you, Matthew. No, Jankster's team isn't that bad, Zodiac. It's not that bad. He posted in the chat. It's not that bad. He just needs to get basically use the 5 million in the bank on somebody good, like a Grealish for a redeveloped or change up for United defender. His team's pretty good for this week. Matip is out for the rest of the season. Yikes. Is that true? Is Matip out for the rest of the season? Matip to miss the remainder of the season. Yikes. Maybe that's why Liverpool are buying center backs like crazy. I like how loads of people has kind of the same team. I mean, you're gonna have players that are gonna be the same. Like a lot of people are gonna have Martinez, some City defenders, Salah, Bruno, Son, Bamford. You know, these sorts of players. They signed 2 center backs today. Yeah, one's on loan, one was a purchase, one was what was it, Ben Davies or whatever his name was, not the Spurs player, but a guy from Preston North End, and then they also got a guy on loan from Schalke. Can't remember his name. Cheers, Mono. Don't think I need a -4 for Son or for anyone else big this week. Nah, your team's fine. Don't need a -4. Could do Rafinha or Souček to Son, Grealish, Barnes, Madison, and Zaha for -4. Zaha, I would say, probably is okay. Grealish is a little bit tougher. Barnes, Madison, maybe, but again, I did a -4 taking out Rafinha and didn't end well. Again, Rafinha and Souček could get something. I'd probably say Rafinha's probably a bit more risky to take out if he plays. Because if he does play, he's versus Everton. His defense is very good. Readerall, Dyer, Benderek is not good at the moment. Besides that, you got a good team. Yeah, 1 transfer this week. You can bench the other 2, and you're okay. We've all been down there. We don't talk bad about other people because they're lower ranked than others. Hard. Yep. See, love in the chat for Jankster. My team value is messed up. I mean, again, at this point in the season, team value doesn't matter too much. Most people, if you have like 102 million or something like that, then you're alright. You should be okay. You're not going to be priced out of things that you normally wouldn't be otherwise. You know, there's always a way to find a really good combination, even with lower team value. Like, I don't necessarily have the best team value right now. A lot of them are in my players that are, you know, tied up longer term. So if I go to my team, so my team value is 104.3. A couple, like 5 or 6 game weeks ago, I think like at the start of December, it was like 102 million. It was just because I have Salah, I have Bruno, and these sorts of players just shot up in price because, well, that's who they are. Then, you know, that's what it was. But like if I go to like where my value is, so Martinez only 0.1. You know, I got some value on Cancelo and Diaz because I got them earlier. Same as Salah, I've had him since he was 12.2. Fernandez, I've had him since he was 10.8. Bamford, I've had for a long time as well. But apart from that, those players I'm not really necessarily willing to get rid of because of that, right? So, let me change this back. Kabak and Ben, can't wait to see them. You never walk alone. For FPL, wouldn't trust Trent and Roberts and me. Take time to get. Yeah, I mean that's true. I think I'm kind of lucky this year. Don't feel like him hard, but I feel that I'm doing super choices all the time. Either, even though I'm 90k, The season is a lot about luck and playing the bench. Yeah, I mean, that's... This season more than ever has been, do you have a solid bench? Yes or no? So that's why I've not been keen on basically getting rid of all my players in one go after the bench boost. You still want to have cheaper players to be on there. So like Mitchell's been good this season, although he had that dry spell where he wasn't playing because he was injured. And then some players that we've been, been able to hang on to. So like Bamford, 5.5 to start the season. Look how well he's done. James Justin was 4.5 million as well. So, like Nuka-Cola says. Double game week killed my rank from 100k to 230k. I'm hanging in there now, still hoping, but it's a lot of luck with some serious madness. Yeah, you just gotta make you gotta just make sure to have fun with it, like Mono says. It's called fantasy. It's not the end of the world. You want to do your best, but you want to make your decisions based on basically back up your decision with something statistical or something like that that proves that it would be good. So like as an example, let's look at my team, right? So if I go to this week, I got a green arrow this week because I captained Salah. My thing was this week, this is why I captained Salah. I said he's been on a big drought. West Ham are going to try, they're going to be full of confidence. They're going to want to try to go there. They're going to want to play well. Liverpool should be coming off a bit of confidence boost against Spurs. And if you give any pace on the break, and with the fact that we got news that Mane was potentially out, I was saying, well, when Salah plays by himself and Mane's not in there, he has this, like, magic in him where he just scores, right? And I didn't like any of the other captaincy choices because I felt they were too much of a risk. Calvert-Lewin was the first fixture of the week. So, again, we know we don't captain those players. Harvey Barnes, he did score, but again, I still didn't trust Leicester fully without Vardy and Ndidi. Fernandes was against Arsenal, which last time was a dull 1-0 for Arsenal. And then no one else really stood out. So I just went with default. I just kept it simple and went with Salah. Sometimes overthinking things is what can cause, problems. Like if you're thinking, oh, I want to take this hit this week, this hit this next week, this hit this week, this hit next week. Just think, if you need to do all of those things, why not just kind of keep it simple? Just don't make any changes. Unless you have, like, major injuries or something. The amount of vice captain Salahs that got saved from Cancelo or Sterling. Yeah, that was another thing. That was another thing as well. I got 14 players playing every week. Rotation can happen, though. Yeah, exactly. Salah can go play versus Brighton this week and be on the bench. I don't see it happening. But, could happen. Bamford and Salah saved the past game week for me. Yeah, again, you can have players that come off the bench and you get fortunate for that. I know some people that had no intentions of playing Bamford like myself. And they got him in because Sterling didn't play, Sometimes outside the box selections can reward big, like Stones 22 points or Wilson the odd time. Yeah, exactly. City and Chelsea impossible to predict lineups. It's a risk. Yeah, I mean, there's some times where, like, I would say that City, the only players that are nailed on in the team, game in, game out, is Ederson and Diaz at the moment. Everyone else can be rotated. Literally everyone else. I would say Gundogan is probably close to that. But even still, I've even seen De Bruyne get rotated. So, but he's obviously injured now, so. Big roulette wheel. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Pep just has a nice colorful wheel and he just throws darts at it, and whoever it lands on, he says, okay, that's who I'm playing. So he has like a wheel for defenders, a wheel for midfielders, and a wheel for forwards. And he just kind of throws darts at them, and he's like, oh yeah, Mahrez, Gundogan, Sterling, Jesus, Foden. Yeah, that looks good. Will Timo play ever? He should. But play well? That's another question. Isn't it nice to have a squad like that where you can literally rotate? Yeah, that's the scary part. City rotated Sterling, Cancelo, and Stones, who have been some of their best players, and they basically made it so that Sheffield United couldn't play the game, and they won a comfortable 1-0. You know, they were easily able to do that, and then they only subbed Roger on. That was it. He's kind of mine for Chelsea. Timo Werner. Yeah, I predicted that Timo Werner win the Golden Boot this season, but that's not really panned out. But again, change of manager, lacking confidence. You know, that could change some things. I mean, he could go on and end up scoring 15 goals this season. He could go on a tear for Chelsea under Thomas Tuchel, or Tuchel, however you want to pronounce it. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But it'd be interesting to see what lineup he's going to continue to go with for Chelsea. They played Wolves and they played Burnley, pretty much in control of both games. Chelsea should be quite comfortable in those games as well. I don't see any other reason why they wouldn't be comfortable in those games. Because both those teams don't really score, and Chelsea can just maintain a lot of possession. Like, if we look at the stats for Chelsea, if I bring those up. Chelsea. So Chelsea played Wolves in a 0-0. Wolves had 4 shots, none of which were on target. Chelsea had 14 with 5 on target, and they had 79% possession, which is insane. They almost had 900 passes with a 92 pass accuracy, which is crazy. Then they played Burnley. They had 86% pass accuracy, 723 passes, 72% possession, 19 shots, 8 on target, and they had Burnley only 1 shot, which was a header off a set piece at the very end of the game. So Burnley had no chance. I don't like this manager, but I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I think Thomas Tuchel he has one common theme with his past jobs at Dortmund and at PSG. He falls out with the board. Now, if there's any club that I know of that you probably shouldn't mess with the board, it's probably Chelsea. But I think that what he'll do is he'll experiment. He'll see with what he's got with the players that he has. He has that German connection with the likes of Kai Havertz and Timo Werner, who are still young. Kai Havertz, I believe, is only 21, 22. Timo Werner's 24, 25, something like that. If he can get them playing the way that they played for Germany, you know, with the likes of Christian Pulisic, who he's had a relationship with when he was at Dortmund, Thiago Silva, who he had a relationship with when he was at Paris Saint-Germain, then he should be fine. You know, he should do well. I think in the transfer market, what Chelsea should be looking to go for is basically that like high profile center back. I think that's what they really need to kind of go up a level, and I think probably you know, someone longer term to effectively replace N'Golo Kante, like that one rock who can get the ball from out the back and dish it off. Someone like an Ndidi style of player, like Kimmich, how he gets the ball and just is able to just play through a press so easily. Probably those two, maybe in the transfer window in the summer. They don't need it right now, because they have more than enough to deal with stuff right now and get top 4. That squad's definitely good enough to get top 4. So, but he did not play them. That's because in the first game he said he admitted he was playing them off experience. He just wanted the team because he had only been like there like less than 24 hours, something like that. And then the next game, he's obviously experimenting and tinkering. Again, the rest of the season is a write-off for Chelsea. His goal is to get them European football at a very minimum. He'll do well to get them top 4. But based on squads and players that they have available, City should be in the top 4. United should be in the top 4. Chelsea should be in the top 4. And probably Spurs, to be honest. In terms of squads, in terms of what they have available right now with players being fit. Liverpool's squad is decimated. They literally have their first choice, their second choice, their third choice, and their fourth choice, if you want to count Fabinho, at center back, out at the moment. That's a problem. They have their one of their best, if not their best attacking player in Sadio Mane, out, even though Salah's winning the Golden Boot at the moment. They had Firmino, who hasn't been playing well or scoring very much. They have Origi, who hasn't done much at all. Minamino looks to be going, I don't know if that was official, but he looked to be going on loan to Southampton. Another attacking player gone. Thiago hasn't really fit in because they can't play Jordan Henderson in midfield because they have no center backs, basically. So whether these two new guys come in and do well for them. Trent and Robertson, Robertson's been okay. Trent's been mostly bad for the season. Obviously picked it up in the last couple of games. And done a little bit better. They have issues in terms of their squad. Aston Villa is much like Liverpool and Everton in that sense as well. Couple of injuries here and there. So like if Jack Grealish goes down injured with Ross Barkley down for any significant period of time, they're not going to do well. Everton, we saw James Rodriguez went down, Digne went down, they started to fall off. Liverpool, same thing. They start to lose a couple of center backs, their defense looks shocking. Where City can, lose some players and they're still fine. Like City had a couple of center backs out at one point. They had both their strikers out, but they were still doing fine because they have players who can pick up the slack. Finding Timo. Yeah, you can make a movie. Just somebody make a meme out of that. Put Timo Werner's face on Nemo and then tweet it at me. If somebody wants to do that, that'd be gold. That would be gold. I would definitely retweet that. Chelsea needs someone like Diaz. Yeah, Diaz is probably arguably the signing of the season. I would say Martinez is probably up there and Diaz are probably the two signings for me. But Diaz has been just somebody who comes in and he's just been an absolute leader. He's somebody who's been marshalling the back line and look at these victories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 clean sheets out of 8. Nuts. You think Diallo will make the squad tomorrow? I assume you're talking about Ahmed Diallo for Man United, and no, I don't think so. I wish he would, because he's somebody who's much different than what United currently have. If you look at the attackers that United have, in Rashford, in Martial, in Mason Greenwood, in Dan James. Basically, if you look at them, Martial wants the ball in behind, or intricate stuff just in and around the box. Rashford wants the ball in behind, or small little trick, cut and shoot. Greenwood wants the ball in behind, or just outside the box, cut in and shoot with a step over. They're all pretty much the same player. We don't have anyone who can basically do some sort of trick, basically take a player out of the situation and then create a chance. How often do you see Rashford step over, go around the outside and cross the ball with his left foot? Doesn't happen. When you see Mason Greenwood usually do that with his right foot, doesn't really happen. Diallo can do that. Diallo can definitely do that. Disappointment of the season has been Timo Werner. You could probably just lump Kai Havertz in that too. But Timo Werner's been playing a lot more minutes, so I would say, yeah, probably him. He's been terrible, no excuses. Yeah, but I think also he's been, so if we looked at, if you look at some of the positions he's played in, so one game he's playing out on the left, the next game he's playing through the middle, the next game he's playing out on the left, then he's playing out through the middle, then he's playing in a front 2, then he's playing in a front 4, and he keeps getting his position changed. So he needs a consistent run of games. In my opinion, would be a 4-2-2-2 with another forward like Giroud, or somebody who can basically is a target man to bring him into play to spin the ball in behind, or next to Kai Havertz, somebody who kind of plays that false 9 role. So Kai drops in, Werner goes long. So basically kind of how Kane's been playing, pretty much how Kane and Son play. So Kane and Son, when they're alongside each other, Kane drops in for the ball, Son goes in behind. If you go back and watch Son's goal versus Liverpool, in the 2-1 defeat when Firmino scored at the very end. The goal that Spurs scored is literally Kane drops in, Diaz and Laporte, I think it is, gets sucked into Kane going towards the ball, and then Ndombele swivels and chips it over to Son. So Kane kind of draws them in. That's what you kind of need. Good night, Zodiac. Have fun tomorrow as well. See, Greenwood, Rashford, and Martial are all wing forwards that can't cross. Exactly. Greenwood isn't necessarily that... Like, he's good shooting with his right foot. Creation, not really. Rashford has basically no left foot. Martial basically has no left foot. Unless it's intricate little passes in and around the box. And that takes some finesse to do. Cavani is getting poor service. That's why Lukaku was sold too. But Lukaku was also sold because his touch was like trying to play it to a concrete wall. It just bounced off him, really. It's like he was playing in like boots. Like Timberland boots. Like winter boots. Not like actual football boots. Like, you just played it into him and his touch was very poor, which has been something that Martial hasn't been doing very well in recent weeks either, which he's usually very good at. But another thing that we keep doing is we keep putting Pogba out on the left, which is causing the likes of Rashford as a player and an FPL asset to not be able to do the things he wants to do. Rashford wants to be able to go down the left, get in behind, and then either open up his body to shoot or cut inside and shoot on his right. Or lay the ball across by opening up his body with his right foot. On the right, he can't do that. Whereas what he should do when he's on the right is just look for chance creation. Look for cutbacks. Look for dinked crosses. Look for, lofted crosses. Use your right foot in what it's good at. Which is shooting and passing, basically. And look more to go around the outside, whereas Diallo can definitely do that. I mean, if anyone watched the under-23 game, he absolutely shredded those Liverpool under-23s. He also Panenka'd the keeper for a penalty as well, so which was quite good. But yeah, so let's run through. Let's get back to fantasy. I'll run through the team one more time. So this is probably what I'm going to go with. Johnston in goal over Martinez, just because I think this is probably the best time to play him, and he got a clean sheet last time. Cancelo, Stones, and Diaz, they're gonna play hopefully. Son, Salah captained, Fernandez, Barnes, Bamford, Antonio, and Calvert-Lewin. If I think that maybe I favor Fernandez, I might go with him, but it's gonna be either one of those two. And then on the bench, Souček holding over Kufal ahead on the bench. You United fans. Hey, I like United, but I like to also see teams play well as well. So like, obviously Liverpool is a rival of United. I hate Liverpool. Don't like to play against them. Want United to beat them every time we play them. But you can definitely admire things like how good of a counterattack goal Salah's second goal was. Like, that was like, applaud that moment. Be like, that was a sick goal. Can United do more of that? Or whoever your team is. Can my team do more of that? Can the Premier League do more stuff like that? Doesn't matter who the team is. When you watch teams like Burnley, like Wolves, where they sit there, they have no real invention. Sideways, backwards to the goalkeeper. Lump the ball long. It's not really interesting to see. People will say that Man City is boring, where they say, oh, they keep the possession all the time, they kind of pass it around. But the thing is, what City's doing is they're slowly picking and prodding, and then once they find that small gap, bang, it's in there, and then it's a goal. That's the beauty of City's football. And they basically don't give you a chance to get the ball back unless it's in the back of your net. They don't give you a chance to break. They don't give you a chance to do anything. That's why they're so good. And they contain you in such a small space, which they know they're going to be better than you at because they basically practice that. Like, it is City's to lose, in my opinion. Like, once I saw Liverpool start to drop off, I think I predicted Liverpool to win the league again. But obviously the injuries and that sort of stuff, so you reevaluate these sorts of things. You can say, like, once Liverpool started to drop off and Van Dijk was out, I was like, yeah, City's going to do this now. They just got to hit a vein of form, of consistency, which they can definitely do. Whether they can balance that with that in the Champions League, we will see. Because the Champions League, I know, is their priority 100%. So, But yeah, Diaz could be the signing here. I would say Diaz and Martinez are probably my top 2 signings of the year. When are we live next? We will be live next. I think I posted it on Twitter. Let me actually move to the big screen here. I posted on Twitter when I was going to be live next. Also, Minamino did go on loan to Southampton. I just saw that. So this week we're going to be doing a captaincy video for Game Week 23 tomorrow. Pep Roulette on a Wednesday. The next stream will be Thursday, same time, 7 p.m. EST. That's going to be the preview for Game Week 23. Then we'll have a lineup announcement video for 23 as well on Friday. And then we'll have a deadline stream an hour before the deadline on Saturday, which is nice because 3 out of the next 4 game weeks, so 23, 24, and 26, I think it is, are all going to be deadline streams, like actual proper deadline streams. So yeah, 23, the first game's on February the 6th. 24, the first game's on February the 13th. 25, the first game's on a Friday, kind of annoying. And then for Game Week 26, which is going to be probably the big double game week, which is nice to have a deadline stream. I'm so happy that I can do a deadline stream for that. That's going to be February 27th is the start date for that. So, which is nice to see. And it starts off with Man City versus West Ham if they don't change the way the fixtures are. So that should be fun to see. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure to go check out all the other platforms. If you haven't been following us over on Twitter, if you haven't been subscribed over on YouTube, make sure to do that as well. Like I said, we'll be back Thursday, same time, 7 p.m. EST. Look out for the captaincy video tomorrow, the Pep Roulette video on Wednesday, the lineup announcement video on Friday, and this VOD will be going up shortly as well, which we always do. And if you are watching this over on YouTube, at the end of watching the whole VOD, come check us out on the live streams. Give us a follow over on Twitch, and you can be in the chat talking to some of the lovely FPL players that we have in the chat that we've been discussing with tonight. And you can post your team, and everyone will give their 2 cents. And it's always best to have a lot of FPL opinions. So next stream, Thursday, 7 p.m. EST. The exact day on that is the 4th of February. So 4th of February, Thursday, 7 p.m. EST for the Game Week 23 preview stream. And that'll be after all the fixtures is done in Game Week 22. So yeah, thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care.